Here, and today we're going to be doing Unit 9, Notes 3. So we're going to be talking about simplifying monomials. So our learning for today is simplifying monomials with rules of exponents. Now this is something that we did way back in first trimester that we're going to be applying to stuff this trimester. So we're going to kind of work together on that stuff. So let's take a look at our rules of exponents. So first of all, when you multiply like bases, you need to add the exponents. So please make sure you're actually filling out this chart. So what does that look like? So when you have a to the 6th times a to the 3rd, you're going to add those exponents to get a to the 9th. That's all it is. When you multiply things that have the same letter on the bottom, you add exponents up top. Next, let's go ahead and let's take a look at doing a power of a power. So when we do a power of a power, you're going to multiply your exponents, okay? So when you multiply your exponents, it's going to look like this. So what you'll notice here is that we have 6 a to the 6th, and all of that is being raised to the second power. Now, each part, even the 6 in the exponent or in the parentheses, has an exponent. So we have 6 to the 1st and we have a to the 6th. So each of those exponents needs to be multiplied by 2. So 6 to the 1 times 2 is 2. A to the 6 times 2 is 12. Well, 6 squared is 36 because that's the same as 6 times 6. And then we have a to the 12th. So that's how you would simplify out that one. Taking a look at this 0 power one, so it equals 1. So whenever you have anything raised to the 0 power, no matter how large it is, if it's being raised to the 0 power, the entire thing is equal to 1. So then we're going to divide like bases. So when you divide like bases, you subtract the exponents. So when we have a to the 6th divided by a to the 3rd, this is how we actually learn to do it. We learn to write it out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we divided it by 1, 2, 3. So what we're going to do is cancel out those, and we're left with 3 a's up top, so our answer would be a to the 3rd. So those are the rules of exponents that we're going to be applying today. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at that. So let's take a look at number 1. So for number 1, we have 4x to the 1st times x squared times x to the 3rd. Now if there's ever no x written, or there's no exponent written, the exponent is always just 1. So what we want to do is write this out. So first we have a 4 on the outside. Then we have x to the 1st times x squared. So when you add those exponents, x to the 1st times x squared, add those, you get x to the 3rd. And then we have y to the 3rd. And x to the 3rd and y to the 3rd cannot be added together because they are different numbers. Taking a look at number 2, well, for number 2, that entire thing is raised to the 0 power. So that means that the final answer is just 1. Taking a look at number 3, now I notice that I have these guys in parentheses. So what I want to do first is simplify within the parentheses. So I have y to the 1st and I have x to the 1st. So I have 6. And then y to the 1st, or let's do x as x to the 3rd times x to the 1st. Remember, if there's no exponents, it's just 1. So you add those exponents and you get x to the 4th. And then I have y to the 1st times y to the 4th, and that's going to give me y to the 5th. Now that I've simplified inside the parentheses, all of that is being raised to the second power. Now this has an exponent of 1 on it as well. So then 6 to the 1 times 2 is 2. X to the 4 times 2 is 8, and y to the 5 times 2 is 10. So 6 squared is going to give me 36, x to the 8th, y to the 10th. So this right here is your final answer for number 3. Next, let's take a look at number 4. So for number 4, what we have is we have 2 to the 3rd power to the 2nd power to the 2nd power. Now remember that when you take a power of a power, you're really multiplying those exponents. So we can actually multiply all of these exponents together. So we have 2 or 3 times 2 times 2. Well, 3 times 2 is 6, times 2 is 12. So I have 2 to the 12th power, which is really just 12 times 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 12, or sorry, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So you're really multiplying 2 by itself 12 times. And when you do it all those 12 times, you end up getting 4,096 for your answer for number 4. Well, let's take a look at number 5. So for number 5, we have Basically, we have numbers on the outside. So when you're doing problems like number 5, you're going to multiply your coefficients, or those numbers that are on the outside, and then you are going to add your exponents. So 4 times -7 is -28. A to the first times a squared is a cubed. B to the 6th times B to the 3rd is, you're going to add those together and you get B to the 9th. Now A and B cannot be added together, so that's your final answer. Let's take a look at number 6. So for number 6, you're going to multiply. First, you need to figure this guy out. So we have this 3xy to the 4th. That's going to stay as is for right now. So then we're taking -2 times y, and we're squaring both of those. So basically on the inside, we're taking -2 squared and y squared, and eventually that's going to be raised to the 3rd power. Well, let's take another step. Well, -2 squared, remember, whenever you square a negative number, it's always positive. So -2 squared is 4, and then you have y squared, and that's raised to the 3rd power. So remember that that 4 also has an exponent on it. So here we have 3xy to the 4th, and then 4 to the 1 times 3 is going to give us 4 to the 3rd power. Well, 4 to the 3rd power is 64. And then y squared raised to the 3rd power, we need to multiply those exponents. So 2 times 3 is 6. So now we're ready to multiply that with the other parenthesis. 3 times 64. When you multiply 3 times 64, you get 192. Now there's nothing to multiply the x by, so that's just going to stay as x. And then you have y to the 4th times y to the 6th. Well, now we're multiplying like bases, so you're going to add those exponents. So that's your final answer for number 6. Let's take a look at those other ones. It looks like I don't have them written out. So for number 7, we have 4ab divided by a. So what I notice is I have a on the top and a on the bottom. So those will actually just cancel each other out. Because think of it this way. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So a divided by a is 1. So those cancel out, and I'm just left with 4b as my final answer for number 7. Let's take a look at number 8. So I have 4b to the -3 divided by a to the -2. Now we didn't write this down in our rules of exponents, but when you have negative exponents, you need to flip where they're located. So the b to the -3 is negative on top, so I'm going to flip it down to the bottom. The a to the -2 is negative on the bottom, so I need to flip it up to the top. So then the a to the -2 is going to come up to the top, and that's going to give me a squared. Then that's going to be divided by b cubed once you've flipped that around. So that right there is your final answer for number 8. Let's take a look at number 9. So number 9, you have b to the -3, c squared, and on the bottom, d to the -5. So again, your d is negative on the bottom, so I want to flip it up top. Your b is negative up top, so I want to flip it to the bottom. So when I flip that d to the top, I end up getting c squared, and then d to the 5th, and then on the bottom, I get b, and then it's going to be cubed. Again, just flipping where they're located because it's negative. Let's take a look at number 10 here. So for number 10, I have the fraction -3 divided by -12. Then I have q to the -2, r, s to the 4th. On the bottom, q, r to the -3, s to the -5. Well, the first thing I like to do is I just like to simplify it piece by piece. So the first thing I like to do is simplify my fraction. So I have -3 divided by -12. You simplify out that fraction and we get divided by 4. So then here we have q to the -2 on top. So that q to the -2 is going to flip to the bottom. Now I've taken care of that. So I have r to the 1st on top, and then s to the 4th. And then I have this q on the bottom, so I can take that. And then I have r to the -3, that's going to be on the bottom, so I'm going to flip it up top. S to the -5 is negative on the bottom, so I'm also going to flip that up top. And now I just need to combine my letters. So r to the 1st can combine with r cubed. And we do that by adding the exponents, so I end up getting r to the 4th power. S to the 4th can be combined with s to the 5th, multiplying like bases. We're going to add the exponents and get s to the 9th. and then divided by 4. Q squared times q to the first, add those exponents, and you get q cubed. So this right here is your final answer. So that concludes your note video for today. Go ahead and show me your completed note sheet once you are done. Thanks for listening.